the test will have one of these on it. Okay, so you can expect most of them smaller, total surface area, whatnot, volume, and then you get to the part where it's like a bit of a bigger project, so you need to be prepared for this one. So let's see here what Miss Yosik is up to in her backyard. Okay, so the Yosiks would like to build a small fish pond with a surrounding flower garden in their backyard. The design is pictured below. So there's the house, 12 feet from the house, you've got the garden, and you've got a pond in the middle. Okay, the pond will be in the shape of a hemisphere. So that's important, right? The pond will be in the shape of a hemisphere with a plastic liner that must be installed. Okay, plastic liner. The pond must be excavated before the liner is placed. Okay, so the pond has to be dug out, right? That's excavating. The garden will not be the garden part will not be excavated, but 4 inches deep layer of soil will be added, right? So for the garden, I'm going to use a different color for the garden. So we talked about the pond. Garden gets a 4-inch deep layer of topsoil added to it. Question. For hemisphere, when you're digging out, what are you thinking, surface area or volume? Volume, right? You're taking out. I know I usually say when you fill in, it's volume, but same thing if you take out a chunk, you're thinking volume. Garden will not be excavated, but will be 4 inches deep in soil. If something has a depth, guys, you're thinking volume as well, okay? If something has a depth to it, it's volume as well. Topsoil, do you know what topsoil is? I don't know if you've helped your parents in the spring, just dump bags of soil in your grass to kind of help it grow faster. Topsoil, that's what that is. The pond liner and the water pump will cost $150. The soil is sold in bags containing 2 cubic feet of soil per bag. That's probably important to highlight. That goes with the garden. Each bag will cost $6.99. And there's excavation again. Excavation goes with that pond in the middle. It will cost $125 per yard. All items must be purchased in whole units. If it doesn't tell you that, you still assume that you can't buy partial quantities. So let's write that down. No partial quantities. Okay? So let's dig in. So A, determine the costs to excavate the pond, not including taxes. So we don't want to worry about taxes just yet. Okay? So let's do that. I have lots of space here for you. Let me see if I can do this. So you can see what I'm doing. When it comes to the pond, what shape does it have? I'm going to do that up here. Hemisphere, right? It's circular from the top, but if we could turn this whole thing sideways like this, what would it look like from the side? A hemisphere. So basically, this is your pond, right? And it would look like that. It's a hemi, right? Hemisphere. So to excavate, what do we need to figure out? We need to figure out the volume, correct? So let's do that in A. I'm going to go back down here. Volume of the hemisphere is going to be 2 pi r cubed divided by 3. Let me zoom into that part because some of you are writing that down. So let's figure out what that is. Volume would be 2 pi. What's radius here? Let's go back up real quick and label. The radius of the pond is 3 feet, right? That's my radius. So we're going to go 3 cubed divided by 3. 2 pi Well, I'm just going to give you the answer, by the way. We can type that in. 2 pi r cubed. That would be 56. Did you divide it by 3? 56.54 cubic feet. So far, so good, right? I hope this is something that you would be able to do. This is a good first step. If we want to calculate the cost, what do we need this to be and like what units? Think about it. Let's go read. What does excavation cost us? Like how do they give us the price in cubic yards, right? So convert this thing to cubic yards. This is one that you should have. This is a very classic conversion, by the way, for the province. 1 cubic yard has how many cubic feet? 3. Nope. 3 cubed, 27. Please, if you did the homework, that Larry made a mistake, right? Here, he just divided by 3. So cubic, so it's 27. So 56 something something divided by 27. We get 2.09, okay? 2.09 for something cubic yards. Okay, now we're ready to do the cost. If they had to dig up this much, how much would they charge you if you can't do partial quantities? They would charge you for 3 cubic yards, okay? So approximately 3 cubic yards. So here's the cost. 3 cubic yards times $125. And so that would be $375, not including taxes. But, so that's it. No tax yet, okay? I'm going to go without tax. Cut that. So A is done. Right? Part A is completed. Part B. Determine the cost of soil to build the garden, not including taxes. That's what B is asking for. When it comes to soil, what are we thinking? Surface area or volume? Surface area, if it's just flat, completely flat, that's like if you put like carpet down. But soil has, what kind of a depth does soil have? It tells us up there. 4 inches, right? 4 inches, see that? Of soil. So let's see if we can picture this. At first, if you look at the top, there's the pond in the middle, and there's the garden around it, correct? As soon as this would just be area, right? If it's just circles, we just area, but there's a depth to it. Okay, so this actually turns into, what kind of shape is this now? There are cylinders, right? This is 4 inches from top to bottom, right? That's the depth. And what is our radius here? Like, how are we going to tackle this one? What strategy are we going to use to figure out the volume of just the garden, just that donut? How would we do that? Do we have a formula for donut? What 2 shapes do you see there? A big cylinder and a small cylinder, right? So what would we do here to just find the donut? Volume of large cylinder minus volume of small cylinder. Okay, let's do that. Total volume. Volume of large. Shh, no talking right now. Volume of small. Let's write out our formula. So that would be pi r squared h minus pi lowercase r, because there's a small one. H doesn't matter. If you want to do capital, lower, they both have the same height. So I'm just going to stick with capital H there. Pi. What's the radius of the large? Yeah, go ahead. What's the radius of the large cylinder? 5? Okay, I'm going to investigate that. In case some of you are like, how did you get 5? 2 and 2, there's 2 here as well, right? So what's the diameter of the entire, from end to end, is 10. So the capital R is 5, right? If I were to think of the large circle, in this case we're thinking cylinder because it has a depth to it, the radius is 5. And the radius of the small one is 3 because it's half of 6, right? So I've got capital and lowercase. So now that I've determined that, let's go ahead and figure that out. This is 5. And what's my depth here, the height? 4 inches. Can I just leave it as 4? What is 5 in? Feet, right? What is 4 in? Inches. How do we turn that into feet? Divided by 12. Thank you. That is my suggestion, like, just to make sure you don't miss it. Just divide it by 12. Now you turn that into feet. Okay? Minus pi 3 squared, and the depth is the same, correct? 4 over 12. If you kept it at 4, you're saying that it's 4 feet deep, right? So now you have a problem. Now it's like a lot of soil that you need to buy. But you only want 4 inches, right, across the top. So let's do the math here. I want to show you. Maybe you do this as well. You'll beat me to it anyways because your texting skills are amazing. I use brackets, right? 4 divided by 12 like that. So you get 26.179 something minus. I think I can copy paste my work. Watch. I'm just going to go up, copy that, and turn the 5 into a 3. It's probably the best way to do this. Hit enter. You get 9.424 something. And then it's just large minus small. So that's 16.76. Sorry, 75. 755. And that keeps going. What units are we in? Cubic feet, because we're doing volume. So this is how much soil I need to buy to cover the garden part, right? I just want soil in here. So I'm actually going to highlight that. I'm going to say that this is just, right, all the garden part. And technically it's, right, it's the volume. It's also including that depth all around that pond. Okay, 4 inches deep all around that pond. That's what I just figured out here. Can I just say it one more time? There is no such thing as a formula for a donut, okay? Some students come up with very creative ways of making that happen, but it doesn't work. You got to go large minus small, okay? What are bags sold in? Let's check real quick. They are sold in cubic feet, so we don't need to convert this. We just need to figure out how many bags we need. So bags would be 16.755 something divided by 2. So I grab my answer and just divide it by 2. That's 8.377, which is approximately 9 bags of soil that are required for this particular project. And now I can do the cost. 9 times 699. It doesn't want us to add taxes for some strange reason, right? That's okay. So that ends up being 6291. And that is the answer for B. So we've got our excavation cost for the pond. We have our soil cost, right? How much soil are we going to need to buy to do the garden part around the pond? And what else is it asking us? Let's do C here. The pond liner. I don't know if you know what a pond liner is, but it's really just a plastic sheet you put in so that the water doesn't go into the soil, right? So that the pond stays full of water. The water pump and soil have both GST and PST applied. But excavation, watch this. This is actually, some of you may have seen this last year. Excavation, only GST. So this 375 is only taxed 5%. Everything else is taxed 12%, okay? So determine the total cost including taxes. So we'll do that. I think there's a blank page next to this. Yes, good. I inserted that for us to do. So for C, I think I have a problem here. I didn't, that page got lost on me. That's okay. So C, what is a pond liner would be? What was the pond liner again? Pump and a liner is 150, okay? Plus the 6291. This gets taxed 12%. Did I talk about the trick for adding 12%? Multiply by 1.12. I don't have the key in front of me, so that's 212.91 times 1.12. That's 238.46. I don't know how to show this. I'm just going to say this is pump and liner and soil and all that. So for excavation, 375 times, what are we multiplying this by if it's only 5%? 1.05. That's 393.75. So we're almost done. Total. We're going to go 238.46. So we've got the liner and the pump. We've got the soil already taxed. And then we're going to add the 393.75. Oops, there's an 8 missing there. So the total cost of this project is $632.21. Okay, last one, there's a D part that I added later on. Where is that key? Oh yeah, I'm gonna find it. Oh well, it is what it is. Let's do D here. What is it asking for D? I'm going to read the question. It's not going to be on here. The Yosiks would also like to build a walkway from the house to the garden that is 3 feet wide. It is to be paved with bricks that measure 4 inches by 8 inches. Calculate the total number of bricks required for your design. Okay, so this is the house right here. Let's just do this. This is the house. How far away is the house from the actual garden? Do you remember that? 12 feet, right? So this is, we're making a walkway here that is 3 feet, right? 3 feet wide, and it is 12 feet long. It's rectangular, by the way. Okay. So what we're going to do here, when you have a question like this, is what are you thinking of when it comes to putting down like pavers or like bricks? We normally think of area. It's kind of like you're covering a surface. They don't tell you about the thickness of anything here, so it's just area. A floor is area, okay? So area of walkway would be 3 times 12. So it's 36 square feet. And now, I'm going to figure out the area of a brick. Tell me if this is right. A brick is what, 4 by 8? I have to read it again. Yeah, 4 by 8. Is this going to be correct? If I have square feet, this right now is 4 inches and 8 inches, correct? What do I need to do to turn those into feet? Divided by 12. So basically what you're going to do is 4 over 12, 1/3, right, times 8 over 12. And you get a very weird number. But remember, it's a small paver, right? 4 inches by 8 inches is like probably this big. Can you see that on there? Okay. And so it is a small surface that one brick covers. So now we're going to figure out number of bricks. Would be what? 36 square feet. So the big area divided by how much one brick covers up. Cancel the units. You go 36 divided by 0.22. Oh, it's a perfectly round number. That's convenient. So that's how many bricks are required. If it had been a decimal, round up, right? You want to be safe and get an extra brick to cover that missing piece there. Right. So, I'll tell you this, these projects are sometimes a little bit open-ended, meaning they give you a little bit of options sometimes. I know you're like, what's that? It could have been that the pond liner comes in three different prices, 3 different categories you have to pick. And don't be scared of those ones. You just say, I pick the medium grade, which is $250, and that's what you would add to your cost. They try to stay away from that lately, but they have done it, and some students freeze. It's a nightmare for us to mark because sometimes they have like 5 options, and so every student adds a different, you pick a different one. They kind of want it to be a bit more realistic where you pick, right? You can pick the quality of sod, of grass, for example. They give you some options there, so it's not like you have to follow this one format, okay? So don't stay away from those. I will say this, for tomorrow, and you have 20 minutes today, okay, to get started, I'm going to ask you to do 2 questions, 2 bigger ones here. And just pick 2 that I think are going to be all right. So we're going to do page 37 and 39. Before we get started though, we're gonna all agree on an option here because otherwise it's gonna drive you crazy. Okay? So let's go to 37. I'm gonna pick the number that I have on my key, okay? so you don't have a choice. Let's go over to 37. You're going to make this semicircular driveway. Listen carefully. And this thing has a depth to it. So you can almost imagine, okay, this thing has a depth to it. Like it's going down into the ground. You need to fill it with some gravel and fill it with some concrete. We're going to all agree to use 4 inches of concrete and 7 inches of gravel. I think this question, to be honest, it does mention it here. I do tell you that anyways, but it used to be open-ended on an exam. Okay, it was open-ended. You have to pick between, 5 to 10 inches of gravel, and you have to pick between 5 and 7 inches of concrete, so it got very messy. So we're just gonna stick with these numbers and try that. I want you to get started today, now, okay? On this one, if you want to work with your classmate, that's fine. I'm not going to make groups today. If you want to work on whiteboards to get started, you can do that as well. Just make sure the noise level stays reasonable, okay? I know this is not easy, guys, but remember, you have seen a lot. I've shown you quarters of shapes, half shapes, right? What do we do when there's half of something? Treat it like it's a whole thing and then just divide it by 2 at the end. So all those things that we've done, try to incorporate it in what you're doing in these kind of projects. And I left you a lot of space. So if you flip, there should be blank space at the back. If you want to use the previous page 36, you can do the work there, then you see the problem right there. I would maybe try to stay away from that because this question, the aquarium one, you may need that space at the back. So always try to use the one that follows, okay, to do the work. And you can also use this space here if you need to. I'm going to stop talking. You just get started, okay?